Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Jini. Today I'm going to share with you this card that I made with the Painted Poppy stamp set and the coordinating dies that you can get in a money-saving bundle. Both these items can be found in our January-June 2020 mini catalog. So let me set this aside and we'll get started. I'm going to start with this poppy image here, and I'm going to bring in my Poppy Parade and my Garden Green Stampin Write Markers. This is a great technique for line images and for adding color where you want it. I'm going to be using the side of my marker and coloring over the areas where I want that color. It's always best to start from the lightest color and then go to your darkest color, simply because that way you can cover up your mistakes if you go over the area that you need to. Once I've got that done, I am simply going to breathe on this stamp, and your breath will moisten the image and reactivate that ink that came from the markers. I'm going to stamp, lift up, and voila, a beautiful image. Then I'm going to bring in my Calypso Coral and this little dotted image here, and I am going to stamp that off and then stamp onto my flower just to add a little more color. I'm finished with my focal point, and now I'm ready to bring in my sentiment. So I am going to use my embossing buddy and run that over my cardstock. That allows the static cling not to be a problem when you're stamping. I'm going to use my Versamark, and I'm going to line up the sentiment from the coordinating stamp set, and then I'm going to bring in my white embossing powder. I've carefully put the powder over the sentiment, I've shaken off the excess, and now I'm ready to heat set. So I'm going to bring in my heat tool. I like to add a clothespin to my sentiment to protect my fingers, and then I'm going to simply turn it on and move the heat tool while I heat up my cardstock. You can see the color change as those embossing powder crystals melt. There we go. And I can set this aside to cool, and we can start assembling the card. So I'm going to bring in my Poppy Parade, fold that in half, and then I'm going to bring in this piece of basic black cardstock and a piece of our designer series paper. This paper is absolutely gorgeous, and it comes in 12 by 12 sheets, so you get a lot of bang for your buck. I'm going to add this layer onto the basic black, centering it, and adhere, and then I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to adhere this layer onto my card front, and I'm going to put this in the center also of the card front. And then I'm going to bring in this fun swirly image. Okay, now that I've got my die cut all cleaned up, I can add some adhesive onto the back side, and I'm going to place this a little to the left so that I can see these swirls on the outside. I'm not worried about adhering down the small pieces. They will be protected by the focal point here, which I'm adding some dimensionals to the back of. Once I've got those protective covers removed, I can adhere this to my card front, and I'm lining it up with the edge of my designer series paper here, and I'm centering it and putting that down, and now I'm ready for my sentiment. So I'm going to bring in this pretty little piece of rich razzleberry that I've run through the die machine with the little lace trim here, and I'm going to add some adhesive and adhere that to the bottom of my sentiment. And of course, if there's any excess pieces here of a cardstock, you can remove those with your Take-A-Pick tool. Now for this sentiment piece, I want it the same height as my focal point, but I do not want to make this end higher. So what I'm going to do is add a dimensional to just the one side, and then I'm going to add a little multi-purpose adhesive here to the other side. Remove that dimensional backing and lay this on to my card front as desired. And by putting just that one dimensional on one side and the adhesive on the other, I'm going to end up with those pieces being the same height. Now the last step, I want to use these beautiful little sequins. These sequins are absolutely gorgeous. They come in different shapes and colors, and not only that, but they have these fun little flowers that are kind of cup shape to put on your project. So I'm going to simply pick one of those up, and I hope you can see this kind of translucent feel to this. Let me pour some more in here so that I can grab them. There we go. Here's one of those little cup-shaped flowers I was talking about. I'm going to set that here, catching my multi-purpose glue, and of course you can use fine tip glue if you prefer. And I'm going to grab one of our gold sequins for down here on the bottom. There you go. I've added 3, but you could add more if you would like. So let me set those sequins aside and I will show you the original again. If you would like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. And if you don't already have a demonstrator and would like our 2020 January-June mini catalog, email me your name, address, and phone number, and I'll be happy to mail you one. Thanks for joining me.